Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG. Welcome back to some more of the Fancy Pants Adventures. Last we left off, we took to the Alpine Evergreens and faced off against an angry penguin, which was our doing, because we woke him up from his slumber. But anyways, with World 1, there also comes World 2. However, World 2 isn't exactly a remake in the vein of World 1. Rather, I would consider this simply a port of World 2. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to showcase everything that's different in this playthrough of World 2, but it's not going to be a playthrough in the vein of what we saw with the other two worlds. Rather, this is going to be a one-episode clip show of all the changes I'm able to find, as well as some of the similarities. So, let's get to it. Alright, so as it stands, with World 2, Fancy Golf Ball is still one of the main mainstays within the campaign. And as it is considered one of the many things you have to do in order to get all the stars in the game, because unlike World 2 in the Flash version, upon completing each hole you actually get one of the stars needed to get 100% in each stage. So no more do you get the alternate pants colors, which I think is a little bit of a shame, but for what it is, it does work for the Fancy Pants Adventures. I just wish that it gave pants colors as opposed to the stars, but that's just me. Anyways, the story is exactly the same as the Flash version, word for word. For Justice for Humanity, for World 2 to have a plot line. So that's all intact here. One thing you're going to notice though is that the game itself, World 2 in particular, is still very much like the Flash version. From the foreground to the background, the only real difference besides the collectibles is the music. Of course, you still have the snail there for Fancy Golf Ball, and I'm going to showcase over here, if you have to the right, that's where the hole is. There's always going to be one star hidden in the stage. The other two you have to get either by, well, one for certain is the mini golf hole, but sometimes the other is hidden in the stage. So this is where the hole would be, and when you sink it in, instead of getting a pair of pants, you get a star. Up top, this is one of the item collectible rooms, as I mentioned back in the Flash version. If I recall correctly, this is the Tommy LM room, so I'm going to showcase it off right here. So the real point I'm really trying to get across with this World 2 inclusion is that not a lot has changed. So I'm going to showcase this room real fast. You're going to see it's very much the same. Everything from the level structure to everything that's drawn, not much change. So, what has changed? Let's go a little further with the gameplay. Alright, so just like World 1, World 2 also features micro trials. And just like World 1, they are required if you are going for the 100% bonus. And for what it is, I don't mind the micro trials here. It does add a little more to the gameplay, but I feel like there was already enough in the Flash version as it was with the Fancy Golf Ball. But I do like the inclusion here with the Fancy Pants Adventures, so I can at least respect it. So we're gonna get this one real fast and then showcase the rest. So we only got squiggles for this one, but it's what you get out of it. So let's keep going forward. So back with the Flash version, this stage was actually different. It was actually a whole bunch of loop-de-loops that you'd run through, but here they actually changed to a bunch of trampolines. Why I made the change, I have no idea. Honestly, I wish it was still the loop-de-loops, because it emphasized the idea of just pure speed and momentum that Fancy Pants had to offer. But I guess it had to be done for some reason. Though I do like the designs of the background, especially this little snowman here. Pretty cute. Another thing with the game is that they actually have names. So this stage, the first one I called the Underground, is actually the Undergreen. And that makes sense. It's pretty cool. One thing I didn't mention with the Tommy LM stage is that trophies are back. However, they only count as a collectible bonus. You don't actually get to see the trophies at the end of the game. And that kind of sucks. You'd think they'd be kind of like the messengers in a bottle that you'd pick up messages. Anyways, with World 2, I recall that this is basically an oil zone in the mountains. And I'm still right. However, it got a nice touch of paint with the background, because now it looks really cool. But the one thing I want to show off is at the bottom of the stage. So let's get down there. Careful now. Here we go. And we actually have an ocean liner, which kind of looks like the Titanic a little bit. A boat, generic boat, that all the oil is coming from. Small little attention to detail, I love it. Another thing we're mentioning in this stage is that they actually changed the golf ball hole, so it's a little easier to get to. All you gotta do is get the golf ball to the spring here, and it's an instant hole in one. I don't know, I kinda like the challenge that was the original, but I can understand the change here. That's everything this level has to offer, so stand by for the next change. Alright, so in level 3, this is actually something that threw me off back in the Flash version, but does exist in the Fancy Pants Adventures version. So remember to the right, I thought there was a platform? Well, I'm not entirely wrong, because in this version of the game, the platforms are actually invisible. So when you hop on them, it takes you to the little area over here where you collect the star. It's a small little detail, but I can appreciate it, especially since it threw me off in the Flash version. I knew I was remembering there was something there, but it wasn't in that version. So, it's a small detail that counts. Pretty fun stuff. Alright, so one of my favorite details in the Flash version was back here where you'd see one of the spiders is actually playing Fancy Pants on the Nintendo Wii. However, for this release, they actually changed the Wii to a generic game console. And based on it, I want to say it looks something similar to either a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64. At least something that's got the cartridge on top. I can understand the change here, especially when it came to porting this to the Xbox and the PlayStation. Though it's just a small little detail you're gonna miss. But I understand the change. It's the small details that count. So the final level in the game, the Ruins, also known as the Evil Rabbit's Hideout, really doesn't have any changes that are notable, except for the final boss fight, where there is a couple of caveats. And I'll explain that as we get into it. So for what it is, the boss fight is exactly as you remember it. You have the evil rabbit that hops around, you gotta be careful that he doesn't step on you. And every so often, he will summon enemies from above, both spiders and snails. And you gotta use the snail in order to stun the rabbit. And that's where we start to see a couple of changes. Because not only is there a lot more enemies spawning this time around, which actually this time was pretty faithful to the Flash version. Sometimes he spawns way too many spiders, whereas opposed to the Flash version, it was always that set pattern of a spider or two, then the snail, and then the rabbits. But here, it can just keep raining spiders the whole time. So it does take a good amount of time as opposed to the Flash version. I guess it's not a big deal breaker, but for what it is, it does drag on the fight a little longer than I'd like. Alright, all we gotta do is land one hit on the rabbit to show the next change that they altered. And that's if I could hit the rabbit! Come on now! Another thing worth mentioning that you cannot damage the rabbit with the pencil. And thinking back to World 3's boss fight, it would have been great in the end to be able to use the pencil against Manly Beard. And by that I mean Rainbow Beard's final form. Whereas opposed to just really bopping on his head just like the original fights. So that part kinda does suck. I do wish there was a little more to the pencil with the boss fights. But hey. Alright, so we gotta be careful with the spider still, because there's a lot raining down, and I would just like to bop the spider. There we go! So the other change is that you can no longer kick the spider. You only have the option to bounce on his head. And that part really sucks. I liked being able to kick the rabbit. It felt satisfying to send him flying forward. But here, you can only bop on his head. Why the change? I don't know. Was it a programming error? Was it someone's choice to have its head bopped instead of kicked? I don't know. But I can't accept that change. Alright, so here comes a snail shell. There we go. So we need one more bop to win. So here comes the last of the spiders, hopefully. Careful now. Alright. Roll into it. Alright. Is the spider gonna come down, or is it gonna be... Okay, it's the rabbit. One more. There we go. And a bop's gonna do it. And the last change World 2 has to offer is no more ice cream cone. Seriously. Couldn't they add a little detail, just have the ice cream cone come down from above? It felt satisfying because that was the end of the game. Here, it's just a little blurb. You beat World 2. Not even a to be continued. Which, sure, World 1 had that too, but even still. No to be continued. So, that's World 2 in a nutshell for the Fancy Pants Adventures remake. So, why did I only do a partial playthrough as opposed to what I did for World 1? Well, I really don't consider World 2 a full-blown remake as the same vein of World 1. And I believe with nope, no item collection here. So I'm going to talk about this as we go into it. Because, think about it, World 1 had a lot of changes to it. Not just the background, but even some level design changes as well. Here, it feels like it's just a straight port of the Flash version, minus some of the things that made the Flash version great to begin with. So I wouldn't consider it a remake. Rather, I would consider it a simply port of the Flash version. For what it is, let's say it's your first time playing the Fancy Pants Adventures, and you don't know about the Flash version. Sure, you'll have a good time with it, and there's definitely a lot more to it in terms of collectibles, partially thanks to the micro trials, and even to the star collectibles, even if some of them are based on, say, for example, the fancy golf ball. I can appreciate that they did at least include World 2 into the game, but I wish there was a little more love put into it. Especially with World 3, how you had like some of the background animated. Here, there was no animations in the background at all, and World 2 would have been great for that. For example, the, what was the name of the stage? I called it the Canyon stage, where you have a Bat Spider in the background. It would have been great to see him animated, but they didn't do that. It's just like the Flash version, where it's just, bare bones if I'm saying it. So, World 2 for the Fancy Pants Adventures. Great they included it, though I can't recommend it over the Flash version. If you're going to play Fancy Pants Adventures World 2, play the Flash version. And that's going to do it for today's episode of the Fancy Pants Adventures. There's only one more bonus video left, and then I'm going to give my thoughts and review of the game as a whole, more or less focusing on World 3, and then we have one more finale for the LP as a whole. So, stay tuned everyone. And if you guys liked the video, be sure to leave a like or a comment below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. The Fancy Pants Adventures is slowly coming to an end. It's almost there.